Hello and welcome to jasonnewland.com. My name is Jason Newland and I am sitting in my chair with my favourite little doggy, Finny. Oh, he's cuddled up to me. I'm just stroking him. Oh yeah, please only listen when you can safely close your eyes. I thought I'd do a Sunday summary, as it's Sunday. So like a summary of the last week. Not a summary of Sunday, because I haven't done much today except sleep, really. Although I did get up very, very early this morning to watch the boxing. So here's a summary. Let's see, where do we start? Should we start Monday? Or should we start, let's start Monday and work our way to today. Because I can't remember anything that happened on Sunday last week. So Monday... You know what? This is weird, okay? The days seem to be mixing together. Or rather, the weeks are mixing together. And I'm not 100% sure what happened last week and what happened this week. So I might get it a little bit wrong. So... today is Sunday the something. Is it the 12th of July? I think, something like that. And it's about it's 20 to 3 in the afternoon. I've got the windows open because it's it's a stuffy day today. It's like, it's warm, but it's stuffy. It's overcast. The sun's not there. Well, quite obviously it's there, but there's no sunshine really. But it's very stuffy, very... like there's less oxygen than normal. Which is probably a weird thing to say. However, based on that, I'm wondering whether or not we can have a big old thunderstorm tonight. I hope so. And I like a big thunderstorm. Even Vinny doesn't care about them. Honestly, I know it's a bit selfish because I like something that a lot of people don't like. But I do. I love a thunderstorm. Like a really, really loud one. Yeah. So, I think maybe it's... I don't know why, I just do. There's something, ever since I was a kid, I quite like the idea that nature is just way more powerful than anything humans can produce. As far as, just every now and then, it seems that nature just pops its little head up and says, just a little reminder to the humans, I can do this in a second. Something that you can create, I can, it's, I don't know, just it's very powerful, isn't it? Nature, like naturally. But at the same time, I don't like things that cause damage and harm, but I guess because we don't really get that much here, which is nice. But just a big thunderstorm or a particularly windy day It's something to be respected, isn't it, really? I would say. Nature. I was thinking about, you know, the old argument about what instincts we're born with, sort of nature versus nurture. So what are we taught compared to what do we learn, you know, compared to what natural instincts do we have. And dogs have been studied for this. Dogs, rats, animals and stuff, and humans of course, but the idea that a dog has that, I don't know, it made me rethink it. Because I always thought that dogs naturally, you know, a dog will cock its leg, a male dog would cock its leg to go for wee-wees. It will kick behind it after going to the toilet to cover it up because, you know, to keep away predators and stuff, and not know why they're doing it. And it's instinctive. But with Vinny, it's not instinctive. Because he had no brothers or sisters when he was born. He was around no dogs. Really. He had a female. He was around his mum. So when he went to the toilet, he crouched. Which I guess is what his mum did. And I had him at 10 months old. So he never cocked his leg. And he never did the old, like, you know, kicking back after going to the toilet. Didn't do any of that stuff. Once he started going out for walks with Logie, my friend's dog downstairs, he started copying him. He started cocking his legs, started kicking. The weird thing about it is he'll go to the toilet, and then he'll turn around and he'll kick behind him, which is a complete different direction. So there's no point to always doing it. But he's just learnt it. So yeah, he had about 11 months with Logie. No, not 11, maybe more than that, didn't he? Because my friend left in November, and I had Logie for another 3 months, to the end of February, I think. Or was it March? I think February. So he had he had 3 months of living with him solidly upstairs here, him and Logie together. But before that, they would see each other every day, go for walks every day. So he copied him. But after living here, like, it didn't actually get on so well. Because Vinny wanted his own space, and this was his home. He liked Logie visiting. But there's certain times, like when it came to bedtime, Logie took up nearly the whole bed because he was a big old dog. Vinny was trying to push Logie off. He couldn't physically do it. Even I couldn't physically do it. It was too strong and heavy. And Vinny did not like that. That's when he started sleeping on the pillow next to me. Because before that, he always used to sleep at the bottom of the bed. Or maybe at the side, like cuddle up to me when I was asleep. Because he didn't like to cuddle up to me when I was awake. Doesn't like to show any kind of affection. Weird old sausage ears. And so that's the pillow next to me. That was kind of the only space he had, or right behind me near the wall, because Logie took up literally half the bed. I mean, Vinny takes up half the bed, but he doesn't need half the bed. Logie needed half the bed because he was a big old thing. What's that got to do with the last week? I don't know. You expect me to keep track of what I'm saying? I'm sorry about the noise, but it's like a crash in the garden. I can't do anything about it. I'm not closing the windows, and at the same time, I do also want to make recordings. So it's one of those, either I don't make a recording, isn't it really weird? You know when you've got an adult that's really loud, and you've got a kid with that adult all the time, and then the kid starts being really loud verbally, then the adult gets upset with the kid for being loud. Now that is funny. That's a funny old situation. Bless them. You know, loud people raise loud people. It's just because we just learn. It's the whole nature, nurture, whatever thing as well, isn't it? It's... Sometimes I feel lucky that I moved around so much when I was very young, that I wasn't with the same people, I wasn't with the same adults. And, you know, it might seem weird because technically I probably... lucky wasn't the right word. But I didn't get caught up in that copying other people's behaviour. So I didn't grow up like my dad, or like my mum, or like my stepmum. I didn't grow up like them, or like the nuns. Although I do sometimes like to dress up and pace around with a big ruler, big bit of wood. But other than that, I'm not saying I wasn't influenced by them, because, you know, kids are influenced by what's around them, aren't they? And I think all humans are, really, to be honest. I know I am, to a degree. But I didn't end up being like a little carbon copy, or even partially a carbon copy of a parent. So I didn't have the... Especially if you think back to the era that I grew up, like the 70s. So I didn't grow up racist or homophobic or particularly sexist or anything like that. I didn't have those strong views about people from other countries and stuff, because I've been around. You know, I was in this little town. At the age of 7, I was in this little town, and I was hearing people be, I don't know, not very friendly towards non-white people, let's just say. And this was standard in the 70s. Standard, almost kind of just flippant, in a flippant way. Not necessarily in a bullying way, just about people that were non-white. Now, there was only... I think I met one black person. There was one black person in my school. Well, he was a mixed race. And there was probably one black person in the town. The only Chinese people in the town were people that had a Chinese takeaway. The only Indian people were the people that had Indian restaurants. It was that kind of town, you know, early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. Very, like, 99.9.9.9.9.9% Caucasian. So I go to that town, and people are being all... It wasn't just the people, but on television. It was a very kind of prejudiced... Being prejudiced was just okay. It was standard. It was on family entertainment was racist and homophobic. It was a standard thing. And I probably laughed. Yeah, I did laugh at it as well. I was a kid. I laughed. But the difference is I knew I'd had black friends when I was in a kids' home. In fact, my girlfriend was black. So I didn't have that attitude. I didn't have that kind of... Like a lot of the people in the town had never actually seen someone that was non-white in the flesh. Which is weird to imagine, but it's probably true, actually. Other than on television or in movies. So I didn't have that... I don't know, I just didn't have that attitude, that kind of... that little brain defect that I think people that grew up in that time had a little bit, if they lived in a completely kind of tiny little town in the middle of nowhere, where, you know, obviously if you're in London it's different, or if you're in a big city it's multicultural, and it has been for a long time, since probably the 50s. I was going to say something mildly intelligent then, but I forgot what it was. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what I'm trying to say here. I don't know why I'm thinking of nature and nurture. Because we're not born like that, are we? Was it the two things that babies are born with? Two fears. The fear of falling and loud noises. That seems to be the only two. I don't think that's true though, because everyone's got their own thing, innit? I mean, babies don't like being left on their own, do they? Sometimes. I was quite a good father figure once. In 1995, I was dating this lady. I think she was 2 years older than me. I was 25, she was 27. She had two kids. She had a daughter who was about, I don't know, 4, 5, and she had a son who was probably about a year old. Basically a baby still. And that little boy bonded with me. Like really bonded. Like just automatically, don't know why. And I used to be able to send him to sleep. So when he cried, he'd put his arms out for me to pick him up. It's like he connected with me. And I used to sing to him, and I'd sing Michael Jackson songs, and he'd fall asleep. And one time I went away. I was in Butlins, and I got a phone call from her dad, my girlfriend's dad, saying that the little baby was in hospital because he had an asthma attack. So I come back to London, and I get in there. So I go into the baby ward, which is just a weird place to be. And the first thing the little boy does is put his arms out for me to pick him up. Smiling, so happy to see me. And it was weird, like, wow. Imagine if other human beings were happy to see me. Do you imagine having that kind of welcome from everyone that you meet in life? Life, it would just be almost blissful, wouldn't it? It'd be weird. Yeah, it'd be definitely weird. Especially if you... Yeah, that would be weird, wouldn't it? Imagine you were robbing someone's house and they came in and caught you and they were so excited to see you. Oh, how are you? That'd be weird. Not that I rob people's houses. Although, funny enough, the lady downstairs who got her flat robbed about 3 months ago, she found out who did it. It's a local neighbour, according to her. And apparently that same neighbour, again, I don't have proof of this, but actually the dots fitted together because she knew stuff that she wouldn't know otherwise. She, that I've not said to her. This same neighbour was going around to people saying that I was a convicted. I've been to prison for something really bad. And so the neighbour downstairs went online. Apparently there's a website you can go on to check this stuff out. And it's weird. I didn't know what to do with that information, because this is someone that I actually visited. I visited this person in hospital last week. Not. This isn't Uncle Sausages. This is another neighbour. And if it was Uncle Sausages, I wouldn't be visiting him anymore. If I thought he'd said something like that about me. Yeah, that was weird. I sort of like, okay. Well, if that was true, then I would not be living opposite a school for a fact, There's certain laws about stuff like that. But then it kind of, like, we had this conversation, me and the neighbour downstairs, and she said, yeah, but if she's going around telling people, you could end up really in a bad place, a bad spot, I said, yeah. And it kind of explains why some people who used to say hello to me now don't. Because it's the old saying, isn't it? Like the old, no smoke without fire. That idiotic phrase. So yeah, it's weird. I'm still trying to process this. It's not the best time to be trying to process any other serious stuff with what's going on with Uncle Sausages. And I did not know what to do with that information. Also to find out that apparently the neighbour downstairs knows the person that broke into her flat. She's like a friend of a friend, and he didn't know it was her flat. So he's gone and told her who organised it, which was the other neighbour. So I don't know if she's going to go to the police. I've got no idea. I can't. It's not for me to get involved in that stuff. And also, it's not for me to know what's what, is it? I don't know what's true and what's not true. But it has absolutely blown my mind. Just thinking I'm walking around, if people are thinking that of me. It's just absolutely... Yeah, it's weird. I should move on. It's all I've been thinking about since Friday. Yeah, Friday, that's when Friday. No, Saturday. Saturday night. No. Friday, yeah. So since Friday afternoon, about 5:30, I remember roughly, because Uncle Sos, well, actually it was Auntie Landlord, came round and got me to sign that form, that legal document that Uncle Sausages wanted me to sign. So I did that, and then what's her name called me up, asked me for something. I said a couple of black bags or something, and so I went down and she started telling me all this stuff. Why didn't you it's like, wow. Because I said to her, she was saying this stuff, I said, well, I don't know, I get on quite well with her. And she said, well, you should hear what she says about you. And then what she was telling me actually was things that she wouldn't know. That makes sense. Things that I've not... Because I've had hardly any conversations with the neighbour downstairs. Hardly any conversations at all since she moved in. Helped her out a few times actually, but I've never really had any sit-down, proper, normal conversations. And this was the first time that we sat and talked for like half an hour. Hadn't done that before. And she knew things that she wouldn't know unless she'd actually spoken to the other person. There's no way she'd know that stuff. It's very unusual. A very, very unusual situation. I'm thinking that with people like that about here, I'm just like, I need to get out of here. I said to her, why didn't you tell me when you found out, when she said it? She said, I was going to, but you just let me know that you had bipolar, and I didn't want to, I was worried what your reaction would be. I said, I still got bipolar, you know. It wasn't just a weekend thing. It's still here. I mean, generally, my reactions were internal most of the time. Not always, but most of the time. And there's, you know, it's kind of I'm limited to what I can do in these situations. But yeah. So that's probably one of the biggest things that's happened this week for me, is hearing that. How much of it is gossip, how much of it is true, but a lot of it was based on stuff that my neighbour would not know. She wouldn't know. There's no way in the world she could know. Shall I say it one more time? She couldn't have known. Which, because I've not talked to anyone else. I don't talk to anyone anymore because my friend Luke's gone, so I don't have conversations with people about what's going on locally. We used to chat about stuff. I suppose we'd have a little bit of gossip, but generally, you know, since then, I don't have contact with pretty much anyone at all around here, apart from people I bump into when I'm walking a Vinny. Yeah, don't have hardly anyone knock on my door or ring me. But there's this one person that I see that I don't see her very often, but I usually see her a couple of times a week actually. And as I said, I visited her in hospital when she was lying there on oxygen. I mean, you could argue, well, I was at hospital anyway, so fair enough. But it's still, you know, still a nice little bit of effort. I was going to give her a lift home as well, but she didn't get kicked out in time. She didn't get a parole. But the idea that it's not even that they're going around telling lots of people. You just say it to one person. That's enough to completely destroy everything for me. I suppose I'm lucky that the person she told didn't believe her, but at the same time still checked, because it can be checked. You could check. There's a whole website devoted to this subject. I've never even had, I know I don't drive, but I've never been arrested, never had a parking fine, never even had, what do you call it, a warning, is it a warning, about anything. I've never got in trouble for putting a cigarette out on the pavement. It's literally nothing. My whole entire life. Saying that, when I was 7, I did get in trouble with the police, but that was because of stealing from the school. But the police didn't do anything to me. They just made me stand up and be humiliated. That was when I was 7. But other than that, I've never had nothing. I've got a very clean record. And without getting into obvious statements, I could not have been a counsellor, a therapeutic counsellor, counselling children or adults for charities such as Mind, if I had, well, to be fair, possibly any criminal record. I mean, they can kind of override some of it. You know, if I had a criminal record for, I'm trying to think, something completely unrelated to human beings 30 years ago, you know, something like that, maybe they can kind of override it and say, well, fair enough, it's a long time ago, it's not, I'm trying to think of a scenario. Robbing a bank, maybe? No, that's probably not a good one, is it? Stealing a tractor to carry home some pebbles from the beach for my patio. I'm just thinking something like that. It's like, okay, I stole a tractor. I didn't, I'm saying, but like, okay, stole a tractor, is taking pebbles from a beach stealing? Technically, they're not owned by anyone, I guess. But then, you know, stealing a tractor, it's not good. It's against the law. You get in trouble for that. Get arrested. Have a fine. The worst is going to be a suspended sentence, I imagine. But, although I did know, I've got a friend who, anyway, I won't go into that. Yeah, so that's very, very unusual. I'm kind of in the mode of like wanting to just get out of here now, move away. But I can't. There's nowhere to go. But at the same time, I guess at least it's taken my attention off of Uncle's sausages for a few hours, eh? Wow. He's phoning me up quite a lot when I'm not there. And I gave him an iPad to watch his TV, you know, the sports channels. And he's struggling a little bit working the thing. And I said, I showed him how to do it, but I do understand that a new thing can take a while to learn. And he's getting confused with it. And I said, maybe just play around with it, just practice, open up the different apps like that, you know, because it's not really any different from his TV. It's just instead of using a remote control, he's just touching the screen instead. But it's, yeah, he was saying something about the nurses. They're always walking off to go and pray, which has thrown him off a bit. And then he was talking about nurses on horseback, and I thought, in the ward? He said, no. I said, well, what nurses on horses? I don't really know what you're saying. So I'll try and find out what that was about. He said, they're on TV. I said, they're on TV? Okay. I really was confused with that today. And then he talks about something, and then I'm not sure what he's talking about, because I can't hear him very well. Because he's like, I think almost he's whispering to me, because he doesn't want other people to hear what he's saying, maybe, or he doesn't want to disturb other people. I don't know. And I've noticed that he doesn't talk loudly anymore. He used to talk quite, it wasn't loud, but he was very, yeah, probably above normal volume level when he got animated and he was talking. He was never quiet. Now he's really quiet when he talks. I have to get my face really close to him. I mean, literally, I have to get my ear inside his mouth in order for me to hear what he's saying, which is a weird visual. And he didn't used to be like that. I mean, literally 2 weeks ago he wasn't like that. 2 weeks ago he was with his neighbour Del Boy, who was the bloke in the bed next to him, Uncle Sausages was walking around talking about football and stuff, and he was animated and he was talking loudly and, you know, enthusiastically. And now he's just sitting there. The Del Boy left, so he got out of the hospital. And it feels a little bit like he's surrendered, Uncle Sausages. He just surrendered to the situation, which I understand is possibly part of the process. And he's having problems with his tummy, like really quite bad problems with his tummy, which he wasn't experiencing before he went in there, although maybe was a little bit, but it's progressed. And he was saying, "Oh, I've got a tummy bug. Must have caught it from the hospital," which is possible, but no one else has got it. And well, I think it's part of what he's going through, and also could be a reaction to the medication and stuff. I just wish I could just pick him up and take him out. He's not even allowed out of the hospital ward anymore. He's in the discharge ward, so they're waiting for him to be... I might just call this about Uncle Sausage's update, because that way, if you don't want to hear about Uncle Sausages, you can just ignore this, because not everyone's going to want to listen to recordings that are like this, because, even though I'm not going to go into any kind of graphic detail whatsoever, it's not necessarily something people are going to want to listen to. So I will just put down Uncle Sausage's update. That's fair, isn't it? Yeah. So if you get the Sunday summary, and let's call it Sunday summary, Uncle Sausage's update. Maybe, I don't know. Does it really matter? Does anyone even bother worried about what the titles are of the recordings? Wait a minute, that's supposed to be Monday's Boring Objects. Does anyone care? I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. No. It's weird. He was moaning about the food. He's still moaning about the food. And I think there's a little bit of a clash of cultures there, because he's nearly 80 years old. He's got his religion. He hasn't really spent any time around people with an outwardly different religion to him. I mean, you wouldn't even know what religion he was, because he doesn't dress up or anything. So I think that's it's a little bit of a shock to his system to be around people that are dressed differently, and he's never been in hospital before. So it's I think that it's a little bit of a culture shock, being around people that are maybe speaking with a very different accent. And I think communication-wise, he's struggling with that, because I think they might struggle with him because he's got a very strong Irish accent, and some of his nurses and doctors have got a very strong accent from where they were born. So I think it's a little bit hard for both sides to understand what each other is saying. And because he can't understand, sometimes, he's not asking for people to repeat. And I said to him, look, if you don't understand what someone's saying, maybe because they're not speaking loud enough. He's also, I think he's a little bit, his hearing isn't as good as it used to be. He struggles to hear me on the phone. And how many people's hearing is as good as it used to be when they're 78? Realistically, you know, so I'm not saying anything prerogative. I'm not saying anything peroxide about him. So I said, look, Uncle Sausages, just you can ask people to repeat themselves, or you can even say, I don't understand what you're saying. As long as you don't say it in a horrible way, but say, oh, sorry, I don't understand what you're saying. And hopefully, if that person has any communication skills, they will speak a little bit clearer and a little bit slower, and maybe a little bit louder, maybe, or get closer to the person. It just seems like the obvious thing to do. Although, I've seen this so many times over the years. People with the same accent, like a really strong accent, not being able to understand each other. I've seen people from Glasgow, Liverpool, Newcastle, talking to each other, and they're talking so fast, and the other person says, huh, what? Now, the person then repeats exactly the same sentence as they did before, in exactly the same way, at exactly the same speed, with the exact same amount of mumbling. And then the person, huh? And then they can kind of put it together after hearing it 2 or 3 times. Now, I've noticed that for 30, 40 years, that people have a tendency, I say people, but some people have a tendency of, they just repeat themselves exactly how they did before, but the fact that the person listening to them didn't understand what they said, or didn't catch the full sentence, means maybe, you know, as I said, like speaking a little bit clearer. But I noticed that when people, for example, someone says, I had a friend who used to sort of talk, and then he'd almost, it's like his sentence would fall asleep at the end. So, yeah, I'm going to head down to the, what? I'm now just going to head down to the, what? And it just drop off half his, like the last bit, the last word, or the last 2 words would almost like fall asleep. Now, if someone asks me to repeat myself, because I'm perfect, of course, I would think, oh, they didn't understand what I said, so maybe I mumbled. And I mumble, I imagine everyone mumbles sometimes. I love mumbling, it makes me horny. So it was a really weird thing to say. And it's thrown me off. I've thrown myself off. Wow. Thrown myself off, that sounds weird as well, doesn't it? Stop throwing yourself off. There's people, we've got company. You're ruining the Christmas dinner. Well, yeah, anyway, I don't even know why I'm talking about that. Why am I talking about people mumbling? Oh yeah, the nurses or the doctors. So, in his last ward, so he'd been in this is fourth ward he's been in. The first one was in the accident emergency department. So he was in the ward there while he was being scanned and blood tests and all that stuff. So he was in a ward, but he then got moved after 2 days, or he was there the Friday night, got moved on the Saturday to a new ward, another ward. But he was only in there for about 2 days, maybe 3 days, 2 or 3 days. And then he got moved to the ward he was in before he moved to this new one. To start with, he liked it in there. I wouldn't say liked. I mean, he didn't wake up every morning singing. You know, he doesn't like it, but he liked the other patients. It was Del Boy lived next to him. I think some other bloke, that Big Paul or whatever he called him, was opposite. And then there was another bloke that was the other side opposite, but he was asleep most of the time. But his wife used to come and chat to us. She was in here every single day. And excuse the noise again outside. When the... Oh, that squeaky voice just put me off. What was I going to say? Yeah, when Del Boy moved out, he had a new person move in, and he didn't like him. Uncle Sausages took a dislike to this person. He thought that they were talking about him and stuff, and he thought that he was getting a preferential treatment. But the ward nurse, because I called the ward nurse when Uncle Sausages told me this, and we got together and had a conversation, and she explained that everybody's got different needs, because they're all in the same ward for the same reason, but variations of that reason, and at various stages of the condition as well. So this person had more personal needs than Uncle Sausages has. And Uncle Sausages was saying, oh, I think he's private, because he keeps clicking his fingers, which I'm sure he didn't, but kept asking for help with stuff. And that was annoying Uncle Sausages. And I tried to explain it. If he was private, he wouldn't be in a ward with other people. You know, that he'd have his own place, his own room. He definitely wouldn't be in that ward with everyone. But I think it's kind of just being stuck in one place was really just winding him up. Then he started thinking that they were saying that he was, I won't say the word, but that they were kind of talking about him as if he was a criminal. Some kind of, because of his name or his accent or whatever. And he started saying, don't you call me paranoid? Because we sort of said, maybe you're just, I mean, it might just be boredom. It's almost like he was trying to create some drama. But not meaning to. But then there's also confusion based on the condition, the medication, just being in that environment. I feel confused now, just back and forward there. When I'm in there, it's quite a confusing experience. So he must be, all over the place. And then they moved him to this new ward, and he was saying, oh, that bloke won. He got Uncle Sausages kicked out and moved. Which isn't true at all. It's basically he was moved to the discharge ward. I'm sure there's a few discharge wards in the hospitals, but he was moved to one of the discharge wards because he's being discharged, although it might take a while, because he got asked by the hospice or the discharge nurse, but I think she's part of the hospice as well. and she said, Uncle Sausages, what have you decided? Because she came the week before, and she came in saying, have you decided what you want to do yet? And he said, well, I don't want to go home. He didn't want to come back to the flat because of the mess and stuff like that there. So he doesn't want to come back here, which he did originally. And she said, well, what do you want? He said, well, she said, do you want to go into a care home? He said, no, hospice. That's what he told her, which I was a little bit surprised about, because I didn't think that was something that you could choose to do. I thought it was something that I don't know, I thought it had gone for a care home, because I imagine that would be a much nicer environment, and it'd make friends and stuff. And thinking about it, as possibly where he should have been anyway. Not like a care home, but in a kind of a residential home, where he was being looked after. He's got a few needs, he'd have been looked after, and I think he'd have been much happier if he'd have had that for the last few years. Just somewhere where he had his own room, ideally, getting fed every day. He could watch, have his own TV. He could watch sport all day long if he wanted. But he'd also be able to have company, because he loves to talk to people. He's a people's person. And which is ironic, because he's also solitary, like me. And I think that's part of the reason why I've really tried to help him over the last year or so. Well, I've always been there if he needed me, since I've been here for 10 years, but we kind of got a bit closer over the last year because of stuff with his flat and bills, and he couldn't communicate on the phone anymore with people, so he got me to help him do it. And he loves chatting, loves people, really, a bit like Vinny, loves humans, but he lives a solitary life, or has done, where he doesn't see anyone really, unless he goes out to the petrol station or goes to the chip van. They all know him at the chip van, because he chats to everyone. They feel like they know him, because every once a week he's there waiting for the chips, fish and chips, and 4 cans of drink, and a battered sausage. I even know what he gets now, because I've got it for him before. Mushy peas and curry sauce, I think. But they love him in there. They're just, because he talks to them about, because the thing is, because I don't know what country they're from. Uncle Sausages does. And that's the thing. So Uncle Sausages doesn't have a problem with people being from other countries. It's just because his normal thing is, I've seen him do it with the security guards. When we first went to hospital, he was asking them where they were from, specifically so he could talk about sport. So if he saw someone like they're from India or from Pakistan or from that kind of part of the world, he'd go cricket. So where are you from? And if they said, Bangladesh, and he'd go into cricket. If he got someone that says, they're from Singali, or they're from Jamaica or whatever, he'd talk about whatever kind of, probably football, If someone was from Spain or Italy, football, he'd kind of go with whatever is the national sport. But if someone was from Australia, he'd go cricket. Do you know what I mean? So he's he's interested in where people are from. But because people aren't talking to him, the nurses are not, and the doctors are not there to talk about sport. They're there to, save people's lives and to do their rounds, and they've got to get to the next person. So I think I get a sense he feels like he's been silenced a bit, and I'm hoping that he gets out there as soon as possible. I hope it will be a care home, because then he'll be around people, and possibly he'll have be able to have a nice chat with people, and he'll be able to just, I don't know, be himself again. But then I don't know how much of him not being himself is because of I'll tell you what, this is breaking my heart, this whole situation. I know it's supposed to, perhaps I shouldn't call this a let me bore you to sleep. It's hard, but he doesn't seem to be himself anymore, the way he used to. He goes in and out of it. It's not just personality-wise, I mean. He was getting angry during the week, and I've never really seen him angry before. But he's gone through little periods of anger and telling me off, and I'm like, okay, wouldn't normally put up with that. Oh wow, yeah. It's sometimes I would be like, go yourself, like, that's it. But I can't, because that would be the wrong thing to do. So I'm kind of just trying to stick with it and hope that he gets released or gets discharged. It's quite funny, isn't it, considering the nurses and care workers have to deal with discharges all day long. He's in the discharge ward, which they're anyway. So he is, I don't know if he's going to be out of there by the end of the week, the end of next week. Well, it starts tomorrow, doesn't it? Really, Monday. I don't know. But the nurse that he spoke to regarding getting discharged, where he'd like to go, she's on it. And they've been on it they started last Thursday, not this Thursday gone, the one before. So they've been on it for over a week already, trying to find him somewhere to move. And if he doesn't come back here, I didn't realise this, they literally will stop his money and give him like £20 a week to live on. Someone told me that. I don't know if it's true or not. And I realise he'll be getting all his meals, and he'll be getting, he'll get somewhere to live and that, but he's £20 a week. What if he wants some new clothes? What if he wants to buy, you know what I mean? Just, he wants to, because who knows? You don't know. They've given him 3, an amount of time, 3. That's how long they give, but he might, he may be around for a lot longer. Hopefully, he is. So he might, because I said to him, if you get a nice room in a care home, get yourself a big old TV. Just I didn't say you must get yourself a TV, but get a nice TV, big. Cause he's just got a little one where he lives. I don't know why. Well, it's not little, but it's kind of quite small. Although he likes it, he likes his setup he's got before. But I said, just get a massive TV if you can. And what's weird is he's got a huge collection of magazines, sports magazines, like football programs and things like that, cricket, rugby. Yeah, I said to him, what do you want to do with that stuff? And he said, just get rid of it. I mean, he had his whole flat cleared out just before Christmas because of, let's just say, his collecting got out of hand. Okay. but he still managed to keep hold of thousands and thousands of magazines. Like every drawer, every cupboard's full. And now he's willing to just chuck it away. And that just seems wrong to do that. I mean, technically I haven't got to do anything. The council can come and do that, but I'll speak to him and say, look, is there anything personal you want me to go through and get rid of, or get for you to take into the home or put into storage? Because he might have, he's got a big Bible. I'm sure he doesn't want that chucked out. He probably want that to go to someone. Because honestly, it's like the size of a table, massive. Someone gave it to him. I think his Uncle Pastry gave it to him when he was a kid. So he's had that for forever. It's like big bound Bible, and it's like in a little booklet thing. So it's big booklet thing. So it's very kind of kept well. And he might have personal stuff. He might have photographs, family photographs, things like that. I don't know where they are. So I'm going to ask him, is there stuff in your flat that you want me to get for you? Photographs. Just, I don't know, any sentimental things. Because unless they allow him to come back to the flat to go through the stuff, but I imagine that'd be really hard for him. He said he doesn't want to set foot in the place again, but I imagine that'd be hard. Very hard for him to go back into that flat now after this. Because he's lived there for like 30 years nearly. 26 years. 99, I think he moved in there. So I don't know. It's going to be... It just doesn't seem right that... Because I saw this with Luke. When Luke left me, left us, left the world, his flat was completely full of stuff. His family, immediate family, came round because I had the key to his flat. I had a spare key up here. So I let them in, and they just took a few bits, like personal items, like a t-shirt that still had his smell on and stuff like that, still like his sisters and his mum, just keepsakes, and that was it. And then they tossed me the key back, and they didn't want to set foot into that place again. And then I think a week, then what happened is, no, I didn't take the key back. I said to his sister, keep the key. I don't want it. I'm not going in there anymore either. I don't want to go in. I didn't want to go in there. And so basically, then another friend of his got hold of the key, was given the key, and he went in there and started taking stuff out bit by bit over like a week or two. Got rid of as much as he could. Anything he could sell, really, to be honest, or use. And then when the council came round to empty the place, this is something that I found very difficult, actually, because they were very I'm going to use the word unprofessional, but to be fair, what they're doing, they probably don't hire people with... It's kind of... Perhaps they don't even think beyond what they're doing. They don't realise that actually, when they're emptying someone's flat of belongings, okay, that person's not there anymore. But the other people around, in the other flats, the neighbours, may be very close to that person, still be grieving. And the way they were treating his stuff, we literally heard one of them say, "What a bunch of junk," as he was chucking it onto the back of a lorry, and he was smashing his stuff up with a big hammer, a big mallet thing, like outside the front, just to make more room. And I just found that so disrespectful. But I don't think they did it with disrespect. I think maybe they just, to them, it's just a job. They're clearing out a flat. They don't know what the situation is. A lot of people leave flats and just move out, and leave all their stuff in there. So that, for all they know, it could be just someone that's just moved to a different town, or just hadn't paid the rent for 2 years and skipped, ran out. So they didn't know what the situation was. But still, just, I don't know. It's hard to explain it. I mean, I'm pretty sure if I'd have done that job, I might have said the same thing. I might have said, "Oh, what a bunch of rubbish! What's all this stuff?" I might have done, and maybe I might even do now if But maybe in the past, because I've had jobs where I've cleaned and stuff, so maybe I'd have had the same attitude. Perhaps I've become a bit more. I've always been quite sensitive, but I think I was more sensitive about myself, towards myself, when I was younger. I've become more sensitive towards other people as I got older. I think that's probably what it was. So I've always been a sensitive person, I would say, to a degree, depending on the situation, depending on my mood. But yeah. So I don't really want someone to be doing that with Uncle Sausage's flat. Going in there, shouting out about how, whatever, messy it is, or what's all this rubbish, or whatever. Because that would just be disrespectful. So I'm kind of in my mind thinking, well, maybe I'll say to Uncle Sausages, if you want me to start bagging stuff up, clearing out the place, so that when the council come, all they got to do is just get rid of the furniture. So I've got nowhere to put the furniture, but I can get rid of the belongings and then see if there's anything he needs. So, because he's got thousands of, well, not thousands, but probably hundreds of newspaper articles on various sporting events. He's got tickets from sporting events that he's attended. So much, because he loves sport. It's not just a hobby, it's his life. But it's weird, today he said the iPad's not working, or it wasn't working properly, or he couldn't get it to work. And I said, well, I'll try and talk it through with you. And I said, so you want the BBC app, don't you, because you want to watch Wimbledon? He said, I can't be bothered with Wimbledon. I didn't think I'd ever hear that sentence come out of his mouth. Didn't care about Wimbledon, the Wimbledon men's finals, which is one of the biggest sporting events in this country. In a year, it's one of the biggest events. The men's and the female finals, and maybe doubles and the wheelchair as well. But just the finals, the final weekend. That's what I'm trying to say. And he just didn't have any interest. Yeah, he's been watching Wimbledon. He's had it on TV for the last 2 weeks. In the other ward, because he had a TV, which was on the kind of, not the ceiling, but wasn't on the ceiling, but it was quite high up, so he had that, and it was playing the whole time, all day long. So yeah, it's kind of strange. Very, 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 very strange. I do hope, though, if he gets to go into a care home, that it's not too far away, because it's cost me a fortune getting to him the last 3 and a bit weeks. And the further he is away, the less I'm going to be able to travel to see him. Because it's not just about expense, which is this quite a big thing, but it's also time. And leaving little Vinny on his own for too long. I know technically I should be able to leave him all day long, but he's never been left alone. And since I've had him, I've been with him pretty much 24 hours a day for 2.5 years, however long it's been. So to suddenly be leaving him alone for 5-6 hours is, I think it's been a bit traumatic for him. And he never gets used to it. I mean, I have left him alone for a few hours, like really rarely, very rare. But generally, if I go out, I take him with me. Pretty much all the time. And I haven't been able to do that. And you know why I didn't go? I didn't take him to the hospital. I organised to take him to the hospital, but I couldn't take him. You know why not? This was a couple of weeks ago. Because I was visiting that other neighbour who was on oxygen, and I thought I'd go and visit her. Can't take Vinny into that ward, so I'll have to leave him here. Because, you know, I was visiting Uncle Sausages. I thought I'd visit her as well, so I didn't take Vinny. So Uncle Sausages didn't get to see Vinny, who he's been looking forward to seeing. Then I find out what she's been up to. Absolutely amazing. Let it go, baby, let it go. I have. No, you haven't. I know I haven't. Oh. So, you know, this, I'm hoping that something happens in a positive way as far as his being moved out this week. It'd be great if he can find somewhere, or if they can find somewhere for him that's relatively close to here, although he's not going to ask for that. But he, you know, as long as it's central, even central in the town, I can get to. If it's central, I can get there a lot easier than where he is at the moment. You know, if it's just one bus rather than 2 buses. And then I can, you know, just, he'll have people around him. And all the nurses were saying that they liked him, he was a lovely man, and, you know, he's a friendly bloke. I think he's just, you know, kind of had enough of being there, really. Just wants to get out. Wants to have a bit of freedom. He wants his parole. That's what he wants. He wants his parole, so he does. Bless him. So it was really weird. I made an image yesterday. Use ChatGPT. All I asked is make a man, elderly man, made of sausages. Okay, his Uncle Sausages, isn't he? Sitting on a bed, have Jack Russell next to the bed licking his lips. And then I said, add a wispy white hair or wavy white hair and a baseball cap. Now the ironic thing is the face actually looks like him. Like he's got the same features I'm talking about, same kind of eyes, same kind of mouth, same kind of jaw. It was uncanny. It's really strange, especially with that baseball cap and the hair, because he's got quite long hair and it's very, quite, I don't know, it looks like him. Not the sausages part, because he's not made of sausages. We call him Uncle Sausages, or Vinny does, because that's the thing that he gets for him. He goes to I don't know if he goes up the road to the shops, but he gets these sausages in a pack, and those rubbery ones that I don't think are fit for human consumption, but I think they are sold for humans, and they're rubbery and Savoy-ish, I think. Never liked Savoys. Could not. Oh, Savoys. Couldn't believe it when people used to come into the chip shop and actually ask for a Savoy. They were willing to pay to eat a Savoy. Literally, they were willing to give their own money. You couldn't. Honestly, I wouldn't eat it if you gave me money. Savoys. Oh, never liked them. But anyway, they're kind of those kind of sausages, rubbery, not really sausages. But this one here, he loves them. Absolutely loves them. He'd eat a whole pack if he could, in one sitting. He doesn't get to, but he would if he could. So that's why he calls Uncle Sausages Uncle Sausages. He's also got a lady who doesn't have a dog, but she all the dogs love her around here, because they all call her Nanny Treats. So she's known as Nanny Treats by all the dogs. Vinny started that one as well. And all the dogs, even, it's quite weird, because some of the other dog owners are starting to call her Nanny Treats. That's funny. If you say something enough, people will start to pick it up, won't they, I guess? Oh, it's Nanny Treats. Like, wow, it's catching on, baby. But Vinny, if I actually say to Vinny, it's Nanny Treats, and he looks up like, where? Like, you could say, oh, well, I've just said the word treats, but no, he's looking for Nanny Treats. He knows the difference between just saying treats and Nanny Treats. And he can spot her from a mile away, which is an exaggeration, but he can see her. You know when you can see the outline of someone from a distance, but maybe not see their face properly, so not really know whether or not to wave to them. He knows who it is. Maybe he's just got much better eyesight than me. And I don't generally, but sometimes I let him off the lead. Well, I let go of the lead and he runs to her. Because I know that once he gets to her, he's not leaving her side. He will not leave her, because I literally have to drag him away, because he will eat every single treat that she gives him. He adores her. Absolutely adores her. And even if she didn't give him any treats, ever again, he'd still get excited to see her, because he loves her. Because she adores him. I mean, she loves all the dogs, but I think he's one of her favourite ones, because he's been, and there's another one that lives next door, but this one's been in a house at least once. She let him in and he ran around and he loved it, absolutely loved it. So so it's Nanny Treats, and you've got Uncle Sausages. There's no one else at the moment, really. There's a few people that I see, when I take him out, but there hasn't got any nicknames for any of them. There's Del Boy, but that's a different person. That's not the one in the hospital, but that's just a wheeler and dealer that me and Luke used to call Del Boy. He worked on the market, so they're always like selling stuff out of his garage, and just he'd buy stuff and sell it. That's all it was. Market trader. But we call him Del Boy. Other than that, there was Pants, but he don't live around here anymore. The lawnmower man, he doesn't live here anymore, because he'd spent literally about 8 hours mowing a tiny little bit of grass. He'd taken so many pills, or whatever he took, and he would literally just be standing there, one blade of grass at a time, but with a lawnmower. I don't know how it's even possible. And all you'd hear is that lawnmower starting and stopping from morning till night, all day long. So I called him Lawnmower Man, among other things. What other name? What other people? No, that's it really. I'm now beginning to wonder what my nickname is. Oh, please. I'm worried to even ask. But that's it really. That's really what's happened this week. Been up backward and forward. Dealt with taxi drivers and bus drivers, passengers, the heat, all the nurses, and it's been a very strange week. And then Uncle Sausages started to get a little bit agitated, thinking that people were doing stuff, and it got very, very complicated, very difficult. But it seems to be hopefully heading towards the right direction, in a sense of him being discharged. That's what I mean by the right direction. And fingers crossed he will end up in a nice place where he feels okay. I know what I mean when I say that, but I still am not sure what it means. Whatever okay is, that he feels... I want to use the word happy, but that's probably the last word, maybe. But I'd like him to feel that he's been looked after, and that he feels safe. And yeah, I guess that's it, isn't it? To feel safe and to feel looked after, to feel heard when he speaks, to be listened to, and maybe, make a couple of friends along the way. And yeah, very strange times. Oh, my glasses just fell off. Well, actually, I just what did I do? I did something and I knocked my glasses off with my thumb. They didn't just fall off at all. But you weren't to know that. Why did I have to tell you the truth? Damn it. So I'm going to have a Chelsea bun with icing and a big cherry on the top. Pretend it's no. I want to eat that. And then I might make myself another cup of tea as well to have that with. And then I will possibly edit this recording. It's now... what time is it? It's 4:03. So I've been talking for nearly an hour and a half. I'll probably maybe I'll watch a movie. I don't know. And then I'll have an early night tonight, even though I've spent half a day in bed. Oh, I woke up. I just remembered. Do you know what? Here's how this is changing me. I woke up this morning. I went to bed at 8, which I've been doing a little bit during the week. Yeah, just I'm kind of ready to go to bed at that time. So I went to bed at 8, woke up at half. Oh dear. I woke up at 12:30. I woke up a couple of times in that period as well, including getting a phone call. And I had this dream where I just said out loud, and I felt it, that it's the first time I'd ever been happy. And it involved a lady. It involved falling in love. And it was weird. I was kind of pursuing her, not in a kind of weird way, but she was allowing me, in a sense, like I don't know, it was a weird one, because it was a dream, so it was all probably involved elephants and swings and stuff, it could be ice cream, like all kinds of weird things involved. But basically, I remember saying to her in this dream, telling her that I loved her, or I love her, and want to spend the rest of my life with her, or something like that. And she was concerned. She said, "How long was that going to be?" I said, "Why?" She said, "Well, I've got things to do. I've got to make plans." So it was weird. And then I woke up. But it was that whole thing of like, okay, it's the first time I felt happy. Like that was the first time. And it was a strange time to wake up. It's like, okay, brilliant. And I'm partially awake, because at 12:30 I'd spent a fair bit of time in bed yesterday afternoon, or during the day actually. And the boxing was on, live boxing, which was multiple world title fights. Well, a couple, yeah. So I thought, no, I'm not going to watch it. I'm going to go back to bed, because, I don't get up in the middle of the night anymore to watch boxing. And this little voice, well, it's not really a little voice, but a thought came into my head, said, why are you putting it off? Why put off something that you enjoy? And I thought of Uncle Sausages. And I thought, yeah, why am I putting that off? Why am I not sitting up? Okay, it's disruptive to the next day, because I'm going to be tired all day Sunday. But at the same time, it's a live event. It's a big event in the boxing calendar, and it was a really good event as well. Every fight was good. Why am I just like, oh no, I'll go to bed, and I need to make sure I'm in bed till at least 4 o'clock, because 12:30 is too early to be getting up. So this whole thing seems to be changing my attitude a little bit to the whole idea of putting stuff off. Yeah. Anyway, it was a good night, and I've been tired all day. Bless. But also, in a few weeks' time, there's the Canelo Crawford fight, which is it September, I think. But that's going to be on during the night, and I'm watching that. Hopefully, I'm going to watch that, because that's arguably the biggest fight of the year. Arguably, just from the sense of the two biggest names in boxing fighting each other. It's huge. Two unified world champions fighting each other. I mean, it's quite rare that happens. It does happen, but this is like, it's a big deal in the boxing world. So I'm going to be watching that, and that's going to be early hours of the morning on, I think, September the 12th or 13th, something like that, or 14th. Yeah. And then next week is the World Heavyweight title fight, but that's in England, so that's good. And that's Dubois against Usyk for all the belts. So that's something to look forward to. So I hope that Uncle Sausages, by next weekend, Uncle Sausages is out of the hospital, living in a decent place. I mean, where, you know, somewhere that he wants to be, that he's happy with. And I'm sitting here watching the boxing with little Vinny. That's my eating some pizza, I hope. Yeah, that's my dream. So I'm going to go. Thank you for listening. Remember to be kind to yourself, because you do deserve to be happy. And be gentle with yourself. You deserve to feel safe. Lots of love. Bye.